We got some breaking news out of Buffalo today as the Buffalo Bills have fired Sean McDermott, their head coach, following the playoff loss to the Denver Broncos. And I got to be honest, I thought everything that the Buffalo Bills did today showed organizational ineptitude and could have been easily classified as organizational malpractice. And it's not to say that I don't think that there's a reasonable case for saying Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills should just go their separate ways at this point. I think it's the same case that's there for the Baltimore Ravens and John Harbaugh. Hey, we've had this MVP level quarterback for over 5+ years with you now. You haven't reached a Super Bowl. We think it's better to see what this guy could do with somebody else and not spend his whole career with just you when it feels like we have reached a ceiling. That is a totally fair explanation. And if the Buffalo Bills felt that way and they just fired Sean McDermott, no problem. The fact that this team, though, didn't fire Brandon Beane as well, and not just didn't fire, no, promoted him. What are you doing? This to me screams Buffalo didn't know what to do. They don't know where they're going direction-wise. We still have Josh Allen and we got to do something. The fans are mad. We haven't made a Super Bowl. I know. Let's use the head coach as the scapegoat. That's what it feels like Buffalo did today. Because let's be honest, they didn't lose that playoff game Sunday because of Sean McDermott. McDermott's defense was fine. They lost that game because they committed 5 turnovers, 4 of which from Josh Allen. And I love Josh, and I think he's the second best quarterback on the planet. And if you had him number 1, I get it. I mean, I like to see a little bit more winning, but I get it. Because if you could build a freaking quarterback in a lab, it would be Josh Allen. Size, strength, speed, mobility, arm talent, it's all there. But the playoff loss is on him, and he knows it. He owned it. I'm not here to shit on the guy. But in terms of firing Sean McDermott, it's not like McDermott cost him this game. And they promoted Brandon Beane. I want to go to this tweet from Underdog. Wide receivers, the Bills surrounded Josh Allen with since Stephon Diggs last left. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, McCole Hardman, Brandon Cooks, Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper, Curtis Samuel, Tyrell Shavers, Mac Hollins, Khalil Shakir, who was actually a solid pick, Josh Palmer, Gabe Davis. Brandon Beane promoted, Sean McDermott fired. McDermott's a defensive coach, mind you. Probably doesn't have a lot to say on which wide receivers are being added or drafted to the team. This is bad, man. This is really bad. And I get it. The Keon Coleman being a miss, that's a tough spot to be in. Because at the end of the day, you weren't going to take McConkey because you already had Shakir in the slot. I understand. It's not a perfect world. But investing in old, washed up, not as good wide receivers anymore over and over again. And then placing the blame on this man. To me, inexcusable. It's just bad organization acting, whether it's ownership, Brandon Beane. Obviously, Brandon Beane's been bad. Look at those wide receivers. Dalton Kincaid is finally starting to connect. James Cook was a good draft pick in the second round. But you look at his last 64 draft picks, only 2 Pro Bowlers. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. You look at where he spent money. Von Miller. How'd that work out? You pay Joey Bosa this offseason. 1-year deal, granted. Didn't think it was the worst deal in the world. But I'm not the guy who interviewed him. And look what happened in the playoff game. 2 pass interference calls down at the end there. The first of which I thought was a terrible call. But if it didn't happen, guess what? Joey Bosa was given the Broncos 15 yards anyways for a late cheap shot hit in a big game to go to an AFC championship. That's the kind of player he signed. Look at the secondary this year. You know who was in it? Tre'Davious White and Jordan Poyer, the same guys that were in the secondary about a decade ago for Buffalo. Why? Because he can't bring in anybody else that could replace these guys. He's not a good GM. He should have been fired before McDermott. If the report out of Buffalo today was Brandon Beane fired, Sean McDermott retained, that would have been a fine move, and I would have understood it. Because you know what? For McDermott and all the crap you can give him about some of his game management in the past, the defense is usually pretty good. The run defense was bad this year. That's true. But top 10 against the pass. And if you drafted some better defensive linemen, mind you, maybe then the run defense could have been better. Instead, you still have Ed Oliver out there. And I think Ed Oliver is fine. But the fact that he's the best player on your defensive line still, if you're Buffalo, it's just they're not aggressive. They don't make all-in moves. And they're not drafting superstars. You look at these teams before this year, before getting Micah, Green Bay wasn't aggressive, but they kept drafting good. That's why their GM got an extension. You look at teams like Philly. They make moves. Jalen Phillips at the deadline, let's go get him. The fact that Brandon Beane thought that a first-round pick was too much for Jalen Waddle at this deadline was inexcusable. Again, let's look at the wide receivers this man has brought in since Stephon Diggs left. Jalen Waddle easily would have been the best wide receiver on this list, and it wouldn't have been close. And I'll tell you what, if you had Jalen Waddle in that freaking divisional game, I bet you're playing in an AFC championship. You had that opportunity if you're Buffalo. You had that opportunity if you're Brandon Beane. And instead, nah, we're good. Tyrell Shavers. Brandon Cooks off of free agency. We're good. We got Keon Coleman. I mean, we'll bench him for the second half of the season, but we got him. And even though he's not good, he's so much more talented as an athlete than the other wide receivers we have. He'll actually score touchdowns in the divisional playoff game. That's what Buffalo has right now. That's who's running things, and that's who was just promoted. And I feel sorry for Bills fans. My dad's a Bills fan. Sucks for him today. A devastating playoff loss 2 days ago. And then 2 days later, the organization shows you, yeah, we don't really know what we're doing. My grandfather, a Bills fan, probably watching the video. Appreciate you. Sorry, man. Got friends that are Bills fans. You hate to see it. This is not a move that helps you get better. And you think you're bringing in a high-level head coach to deal with Brandon Beane? Look at what we saw with high-level coaches. For starters, I've seen rumors of Belichick. No way. No way. Belichick wanted roster control in New England. You think he's going to come here and take orders from Brandon Beane? Not a chance in hell. Mike Tomlin. Why would Mike Tomlin come to Buffalo? Josh Allen. I know Josh Allen's great. What was Mike Tomlin just driven out of Pittsburgh for by his own fans? Reaching a ceiling because the roster was never good enough. What's Sean McDermott getting fired for right now? Reaching a ceiling because the roster wasn't good enough. And it's not to say that Buffalo couldn't have gone on a run the last few years. And it's not to say that I don't understand if you had gotten rid of them both and said, Josh is around 30. He's still got prime years left in him. We've reached a ceiling with this group. We would like to move forward. But you kept the worst guy out of the group and you promoted him. And to me, that's the problem. That's where if I'm a Bills fan today, I'm pissed. Not because McDermott is fired, but because only McDermott is fired while we're moving on from this coach who's helped us have, I mean, over his stint in Buffalo, how many top 10 defenses did this guy have? And once you had Dayball and Joe Brady, good OCs, Josh was producing. It's a bizarre move to me, if I'm being honest. It's not a bizarre move. I misspoke there. It's not a bizarre move to keep McDermott. It's a bizarre set of moves to fire McDermott, keep Beane, and promote him. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone right now. It's not what I would have done. And they have Josh Allen. They are an attractive job. I mean, obviously, like they're competing with the Browns, Dolphins, the Titans. But I'll tell you what, if I was a head coach on the market, I'd rather go to Baltimore. They have a more proven track record of drafting good talent, and both places have an MVP level quarterback. Sorry. I would. I think Josh is better than Lamar. But I'd still choose the Baltimore job over Buffalo today. And even some of these, a Clint Kubiak, a Chris Shula, a Mike LaFleur, look at what Liam Cohen did last year in Jacksonville. He said, I'm not coming here without GM. He stinks. He pushed Jaguars ownership until they fired the general manager, then he signed. And look at what the Jaguars did this year. They won 13 games because Liam Cohen knew what he was talking about. For Bills fans, I hope that happens here. I hope that Bills ownership becomes enamored with a Kubiak, a Shula, whoever, and that guy demands Beane be fired, and he is. But guess who's heading up the head coaching search? Who else but Brandon Beane? So you know who he's going to pick? The first guy who says, oh, Mr. Beane, I'd be honored to be the head coach. I think you've made some great moves, and yada, 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 and I'm a yes man. Maybe they just promote Joe Brady from within. But Buffalo, I think today showed some organizational ineptitude, pretty close to malpractice, and I'm worried about their future, man, because I think Josh Allen's too good of a player to not win a Super Bowl. But this has me worried, because if they're not moving on from Beane, are we wasting another year in Josh Allen's prime next year, regardless of who the head coach is? Bills fans, NFL fans, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you love the NFL and you're not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do consider hitting that button. I do think that you will find content that you do love on this channel if you love the NFL. I will catch you guys next time. Peace.